In this problem, we're asked to sketch the graph of a radical function and identify the domain and range. And this time you'll see that we have an x plus 2 under the radical. That's going to change our domain a little bit. And the reason that's going to change our domain is that now we could take that x plus 2, and x plus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So to find the domain, we're going to solve for x, and so x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2. That would be our domain. Now our range, again, I'm going to identify the range after I graph it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a t-chart and plot some points. So again, I'm going to choose some numbers that make my arithmetic easy. And for one of my inputs, I'm going to plug in negative 2 for x. I chose negative 2 because negative 2 plus 2 is equal to 0. And of course, the square root of 0 is 0. So that gives me a nice, easy point to put into my graph. I'm also going to choose negative 1 because negative 1 plus 2 is going to be equal to positive 1, and the square root of 1 is an easy number. So the square root of 1 is 1, and we take the opposite of that. So we put negative 1 in for x, we'll get negative 1 for y. The next easy number for me to put in is probably going to be positive 2. When I put positive 2 in for x, I'm going to have 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So when I plug in 2, I get negative 2. So this is what the graph's going to look like. You'll notice that we have, from the previous example, where we just had an x underneath the radical, our graph has moved from the origin 2 to the left. And this is what we call a shift. We really shifted 2 to the left when we put a number underneath the radical. And so our domain, again, is going to be equal to where what's underneath the radical is greater than or equal to 0, and then the range is going to be just what it is. And I look at the range and I see, again, the highest number in our range is 0 on the y-axis, and then the lowest number looks like it's going to continue to negative infinity. So I would say, in this slide says the range is all non-positive numbers. Another way to say that is the y values can go from 0 to negative infinity.